Russell Packer, welcome to Between Two Beers.
Yeah, cheers, lads. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege to be on, and looking forward to it.
So we're fizzing for the set. We're excited to have you in the Export Beer Garden studio. You've made the trip over from Papamoa today, combining the pod with some birthday celebrations for your partner, Lara, who you've been with since you were 16. Special night planned?
Yeah, bro, we'll see where the night takes us. We're pretty old now, so we don't go too hard, but try and get out for a nice dinner somewhere, and good to get out of Papamoa and come back up to the big smoke.
One of my favourite things about this, Russell messaged us early doors just confirming the start time, 3 o'clock. Yep, that's cool. And he just made sure, I think he said 16 years almost of rugby league and never want to be late for anything, always double check the time. 5 minutes before, bro, I'm going to be late. That man sent me the wrong way. He came in, he was mortified. One training you were late for in your career?
Yeah, man. Got burnt pretty early on when I was at the Warriors. I was just 18 when I made my debut there, and I was in the team, read the itinerary wrong, and training was at 9 a.m. I thought it was at 12, so I was doing stuff in the morning. Team manager rang and he was like, "Where the fuck are you?" And I was like, "Oh." So it's it was pretty embarrassing actually. Like as a young kid coming, like I'm in the team and captain's run and you're not there, so your spot's not really secure. And ever since then, I've always been hard out about time. Even before that, I was, but I'll blame it on my nav man because it took me through some roadworks here. So
you're amongst good company. Stephen's very, very hot on timekeeping as well.
Yeah,
so
I get annoyed when he wastes my time, eh?
And I do waste a lot of your time, a lot of the time. Real quick, what was a fine back in those days for missing a captain's run?
It was like there was a bit of money, maybe $500 or something like, but the punishment was more so from the boys, especially the older guys, because it just, you always feel like you're letting people down, or what you said, Steve, like you're taking their time where you've agreed to come, and it's just a little thing, but
Wow.
It becomes an important thing when you're trying to be a professional athlete.
So we reached out to you to come on the pod after you followed us on Insta, and you said that the Izzy Whitley app struck a chord with you, especially his line about having someone you had to smooth the rough edges on.
Yeah.
What was it about that pod that sort of connected with you?
Oh, it was cool listening. As I said, I know his business partner Aiden that runs Fit Out Solutions. He's a good rooster, and he kind of told me the story about Izzy, and then hearing his story where he grew up over in Gizzy, having that experience kind of being able to connect with all people, different people, and different I guess hierarchy and status and whatnot, and making his way over here. Just really love that. I like reading books and listening to things and education kind of pieces, and came across something that you should hire for strengths and accept tolerated weaknesses, and it's basically saying that it's better to have a few rough edges that you can smooth out than not have any edge at all. It's hard to create it and a little bit easier to smooth out, but just I guess in my life kind of resonate with that because it's definitely got a few rough edges.
Yeah. That's so cool that you've had a takeaway from a pod we've produced. I don't know, that's a little moment for me. But we're going to get into the rough edges and we're going to get the whole story. But before we do, Lara has come through big time in the research, and she has suggested that you recently took up golf, and you might have got a hole-in-one semi-recently?
Just before you, I don't normally allow...
It wasn't a might, it was a definite hole-in-one.
I don't normally let golf chat play, but seeing as we are in the ACC studio, you did play in the ACC Open down in Te Puke.
Yeah.
I'll let this one play. So indulge us with your hole-in-one story.
Yeah, shout out to the Te Puke Golf Club. Benny Matalina got me into golf when I first moved home, and never played golf before. I always tell the story. Was teammates with Benji Marshall at a few different clubs at West and at Dragons, and I think he plays off a 5, like he's really good at golf, and he's obviously Benji Marshall, so heaps of people invite him to golf trips. And when I was at the Dragons, they had this 5-day thing at Jack's Point, staying on the course and all that, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to come?" I was like, "Nah, bro, I'm not into golf." So now I look back on it, I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a mean trip," but
Jack's Point down Queenstown.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the Dragons boys went there for a week, and so it was golf and team bonding and whatnot. But Benny took me out to Pookie, and like I can hit a ball, but just not very accurately. And this was before, and I got a birdie, and I was like, oh, this is me. I think I'm going to get good at it. And
don't act like you've ever got a birdie.
No,
Don't act like you've ever got a birdie.
I know what a birdie is.
So I just went out the next day. I just asked Ben, how much did you spend on clubs? And I was like, oh, sweet. I don't want to spend more than that because pretty expensive, the golf clubs, once you get into it. And just went to the golf shop, brought clubs that were like way too short for me. I was just like, oh, I'm playing golf tomorrow. I just kind of want to leave with a set today. I don't really care. And I played with those for like 3 months until the club pro, Jacko down at Te Puke, seen me swinging. He was like, bro, I think those clubs are too short for you. And so he fixed them up for us, and they're legends down there. But the hole-in-one story, I was playing with Benny and one of our other mates down in Papamoa, Azza, and I just missed the birdie putt. So I was playing off a 29 handicap, so birdies were like massive. Like,
what are you, Steve?
Oh, about 20.
Yeah,
21.
I'm playing off a 13 at the moment, but I was like 28, so a birdie was like massive. I would jump up and down for a birdie. Missed a birdie putt on 16 at Te Puke, which is a par 4, and then 17 at Te Puke's a nice little par 3. And I just walked up without hesitation, put the ball in, smacked it, and there's like a bunker and then like a little grass mound over, and the pin was behind that. So I was like, I'm going to have a good chance at birdie again. And me and Benny and Azza were walking up, and about 60 metres up, like getting close, I couldn't see no white speck, and I just chucked my clubs on the ground and just ran. And it was like, man, I think it was quite late in the night too, and I reckon I would have woken up some of the farmers if they were having a midday nap. But man, I was pumped. It was like, I'm a pretty emotional person. Like if you done a long as putt for double bogey, bro, I would jump up and down.
Which wouldn't happen, to be very, very clear. Which wouldn't happen.
All right, you made your point.
So got up, bro, had a look in the hole, and I was just, it was kind of, I don't know, I don't want to relate it to footy because it's different, but it was almost like a game when we scored a try right at the end, It was just like, I was pumped.
Etiquette, you got to shout the clubhouse when you get back in, right? Did you?
No, they changed the rule. They put on a shout out there. They give you a couple of options. Yeah, I think I was just at the golf club the other day, and one of the older members had a hole in one, and I think they give a bar shout, so they put on 2 hot bottles or whatever it is. It's the equivalent of $150 or $200. So
nice. I love, by the way, the detail that recreational golfers go into when they retell their stories. It's amazing. It actually is genuinely amazing. I give Stephen a lot of shit, but it's cool for people, I think, to find that pastime, because for some people they absolutely love it. For me, it's not for me, but
you got a beautiful swing.
I know I've got a beautiful swing.
Well, the story that I mentioned about Benji, I didn't really understand, that kind of mental aspect of golf, like getting out of the house. Like it hits on a lot of good things for your well-being. You're outside, and the elements and the environment, you're generally with a couple of good friends, or you're meeting new people, and you get to walk and you get to move around, bit of exercise. It's a challenging game, and it's like, even Tiger Woods can do a bad shot, so it's like you can never master it, and that's...
You're speaking of Stephen's language.
Totally relate to you. That's the part of golf I didn't appreciate from the outside, was the social element of it. So I've recently started, I don't know, a year and a half or so ago, and one of my good mates in Hamilton, we go out all the time, and he's a best mate who, over the last 10 years, we haven't had that many good conversations, but you spend 3 hours walking around a golf course and you connect in a different way. Like a friendship is stronger than ever based on 7 rounds together, It's that side of it.
Well, from that perspective, why I love playing and playing with different people is because I guess in society now we're so busy, and when we're around people we're not that present in general, like we're having a conversation at the coffee shop, or even when I came in here I was texting my missus back, so you're talking but I'm texting her back, and you're not fully present and that moment. And I think with golf, like, not many people walk around with their phones texting and they put it on airplane mode, or that's your time and you give your time and energy to those people. And I think that's why the connections with people that you play golf with become so good, because you give each other your energy, and people like that, and you get to know people really well.
So right, man. So right. My life is just always with a screen attached to me, and golf is the time where the phone goes in the bag and it's 3 hours and you're detached. It's special. Golf and swimming, they're two releases for me.
Yeah, no, actually, I rate that.
So, like I said, Lara has pulled through for us big time on this. She sent us so much gold, like maybe the best like inside lines that we've had. So much goodness to come. But a bunch of photos and videos, and one of them was of you in
Sydney.
With Wim Hof. And I think Wim Hof is in an ice bath and you're sort of dancing behind him. And he's a character who I find incredibly fascinating. I'm big into the cold immersion. Yeah. But how did that come apart, and what part does cold immersion play in your life?
Yeah, massive. So got interested. I read a book called What Doesn't Kill Us by Scott Carney. And then I met an awesome dude, Kiwi dude, Nigel Beach, who's a Wim Hof instructor. He's a legend of a bloke. And he actually came when I was playing for the West Tigers and done a seminar for the whole team. We played up in Whangarei, but we stayed over in the shore for a few days and had a little camp back in 2019. And Nigel came over. Done breathing techniques, and I'd been exposed to it by reading and then trying the ice baths and trying to get into a little bit of meditation and all these kind of things that are associated with that. And then when I met Nige, he brought his ice tubs, and all the boys had a go at it, and it was awesome. And then I just kind of picked up from there. A couple of the boys at the West Tigers, they were interested in it too, so we used to do it together, and Lara's done it. She's actually, everybody that doesn't kind of know her, because she's quite quiet, and I'm not so quiet. But she's a really determined person, and we got quite obsessive about it, and she stayed in there for nearly 40 minutes one day.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
What sort of temperature?
Oh, it was low, man. It was like around 1 degree, because we used to get these little pool things, and she was like, I'm not going to die, am I? I'm like, well, fuck, if you're worried about dying, get out. But she didn't die, obviously.
She made it?
Yeah, she made it through the other side. But through Nigel, Nige connected me with Wim Hof and a whole bunch of other people, and invited us over to a house of instructors, and got to do an ice bath with Wim and some of the other people that were there. So they were all cool, man. Everyone that I guess kind of gets into the cold exposures, and I guess it happens at a certain time for people when they're kind of searching for things, or you're like, I need some kind of adversity in your life, or so that's kind of how I found it. I was like looking for things, and I just listen, we were talking about Diary of a CEO, and I just listened to the one with Rich Roll, the podcaster man, and the lawyer who was an alcoholic, and been through heaps of shit in his life, and he said some people are wired for extremes in his podcast on that, and that struck a chord with me, because he talked about balance and that, and some people are obsessive. Like, if you're good at golf, you're normally quite obsessive. You practice 6 hours a day or whatever, you got to have some level of imbalance in you. And I guess things like that, if you're searching for things, it's like positive adversity, the ice bath, and once you overcome it, it's pretty cool. I've got a few sensory issues. I've done a couple of saunas at his house. He's got a mean little setup, and I don't like wool, or I don't like...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but those things are made out of wool. He told me about it. It's meant to allow you to do longer or something.
Right.
I don't know. Because I didn't want to wear it, I stopped listening to the story.
So many good nuggets, man, already is epic.
So a man drawn to the extremes kind of segs quite nicely into this next story Lara's fed us, and it's about Snow Planet. So she said this one time, he said, you couldn't ski but refused to let go of the conveyor belt, and so you got dragged to the top, and decided to come down the expert lane. He said it was an incredibly painful watch for everyone involved. But somehow from that, you got the confidence to try out the expert lane up in the mountain in Queenstown. So the question is it true that you rolled all the way down the hill and the ski patrol had to come in and check on you?
Yeah, bro. Any of the boys that went to that Queenstown trip in 2013 at the Warriors will probably remember this, but we or the Snow Planet one was way before that when we were younger. I think I was on skis and I'd never really been to the snow before, and I'm overconfident by nature, so I was like, oh yeah, sweet. And you know those little things that, what are they called? Those seats that come around.
Little tow rope.
Yeah, like the tow ropes that you meant to put in your bum. Like, They showed us how to do it, and I was like, oh sweet. And when I put it in, it slipped out, and then I was like a little bit. I was probably like 15% of the way up, and I was just like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna hold on all the way to the top. And I got it to the top, and I had snow all down my fucking pants, and yeah. But once I made the commitment, bro, I was just like, well, I'm at the top, I'm going down the way that they intended. So I fell all the way down, and the one in Queenstown, we had a massive few days down the end of year boys trip kind of thing.
Like a Mad Monday situation.
Yeah,
Mad Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. It was a team bonding trip, and we ended up down there. We'd had a big night the night before, and one of the Aussie boys that used to play here, Toddy Larry, he's a legend. He was like, oh, let's all go skiing or snowboarding. And I was like, oh, bro, fuck, I'm probably going to be hungover as, man. And obviously my experience in the snow wasn't that memorable, wasn't that positive. So we all went there. Most of us were pretty hungover, and same thing, man. We were all on the beginner slopes, and I think I grabbed the snowboard that time. The shoes were too small.
Yeah.
I had sore feet, and the carousel thing, and then it came around, and I think they had one on the outside that went up, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna go up. And by the time I got to the top, I was regretting it, because I was by myself, and I was like, and then same thing, I'm like, well, I've come this far.
There's only one way to go.
There's only one way down, and bro, I was bailing probably I reckon every 15 meters, because I didn't really know how to snowboard. And one of those dudes in the red coat came over to me, and he was like, bro, I've been watching you for a little bit. You look like you're struggling. Do you want me to get the snowmobile thing to come and get you? And I was like, oh, nah, bro, I'll be good.
Pride kicks in.
Yeah. I was like, oh, no, I want to just see if I can make it down myself. But in hindsight, I should have took the snowmobile, but then I wouldn't be able to share this story.
Was that your only run of the day? I'm out, guys.
After that, literally after that, I remember I took everything off and walked inside the warm thing while the other boys were going, and so things you do when you're younger.
She said that it happens in surfing too. Says you always go straight out to the massive waves with the experienced guys, get smashed, then go again. Way out of your league, but there's this deep belief in yourself to keep pushing. And I want to sort of link that up to that belief that has helped with your studies, because she's also given us some great info about the MBA program. Can you tell us about the Australian Graduate School of Management, the MBA that you did?
Yeah. So I guess those stories probably just represent, my character or whatever, that I'm willing to take on challenge that most people, wouldn't do it or whatever. But obviously everyone that Googles my name knows that I went to jail and I've been in trouble and whatnot. And when I got out of jail, I was always smart at school. I went to high school a year early. I was the head boy of my college, believe it or not. But I always done well academically, so the actual work wasn't, I wasn't concerned about doing that kind of stuff. But when I got out of jail, I think people just looked at me and thought, oh, he's just a big dumb cunt, and which quite a lot of people do say to me when I meet them. I thought you were just a big dumb cunt. And I didn't finish school because I signed at the Warriors when I was 16, and in typical fashion of me, I made the decision to leave school early so I could come here and start training. And I had enough credits to pass, and I had a scholarship to go to uni and whatnot, but I went all in on rugby league, and probably not what they tell you, you know, hedge your bets, and not everyone can be a professional athlete and all this thing, but same thing, I was just like, well, I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket and go hard. So didn't finish high school. When I got out of jail, I wanted to go to uni. I wanted to do something with my mind because I had a lot of time to think in there about, you know, some of the issues that I've had in my life and why those happened, and what's the future look like, and what can I control. And I wanted to do a business degree, but I had to first do a community service degree through TAFE. Done that, got into uni. It was kind of like an opportunity to get into uni because I don't think people thought I could pass or whatever. And I'd done accounting, and I've always been good at maths. Like at high school, I liked maths. I'd done physics and all that stuff. So more of a black and white brain or maths orientated brain. And I got good marks in the accounting subject, and that was just a commerce degree. And then the next year, I just done undergraduate papers, commerce degree, and I had like good marks across all of them. And Ben Cray, you know, the old player from St. George, Benny Cray, he had just retired, and he moved into the education and wellbeing space. And he came to me, it would have been end of 2016. Beginning 2017, he goes, bro, like, I've known you for a couple of years now because I've been here. He's like, there might be an opportunity for you to jump out of that and get into a master's program. I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, that sounds all good. I'll give it a crack. And so and then
to give it context though, it's like I've got a note here. That school is in the top 10% of the world's business schools, right?
Yeah. It's ranked in the top 50 in the world in business skills, AGSM. So it's an awesome uni. It's an awesome place to learn. A lot of really successful people have been through that institution, and you know they're making a big mark on the world. But it's University of New South Wales Business School. So, but I didn't actually start there. In my, I started the program that Benny recommended that I do was a graduate certificate in business, which implies you normally graduated from something previously, but they said, you know, they take people that have worked somewhere for 20 years, but they never went to uni, but they know a lot about business, and they just want to formalise their education or their knowledge. And yeah, I went there. I graduated from that in 2017, so that's kind of like the stepping stone. That would be, the under 20s of the MBA. And then once I graduated from there, I applied to go to AGSM, because I wanted to challenge myself, and I was moving to Sydney at the time from Wollongong, and the campus was located there, so I applied, and had to write a big kind of entry kind of thesis of why you want to attend, and it's not like it's hard to get into or whatever. Then,
I love how understated you're making that story, because it's an incredible achievement just to get to the start line.
Well, I'll tell you like that, and bit of serendipity or whatever we're talking about. The reason why I'm coming on this podcast is at the same time that I listen to the Izzy one, and then I'm listening to another podcast that says, like, imagine if you just lived your whole week where you couldn't say no, and they talk about the Amazon yes, and then you come to me, and then I'm like, okay, I'll say yes, and here we are. But when I was doing my research on AGSM, again, it was just fate or whatever, but Marina Go, who's an alumni of AGSM, and at the same time, she was the chairperson of the board at the West Tigers. And when I got the brochure, she was bang smack on the middle of it. And so I had just signed at the West Tigers, so I asked Ivan to put us in touch, and Marina became a bit of a mentor to me going through that process. And gave me a lot of encouragement to go for it, and then I applied and graduated in 2020. So
With top marks?
I look, I wanted over there, if you get over 80%, you graduate with excellence. So that was my goal, to graduate with excellence. When I first started, that was in 2018, I ended up graduating with 79. So one off.
Wow. Yeah.
But in a way, I've reflected on that a lot. It's like, what is enough, you know? It's like one more mark, that made me different. And throughout my MBA journey, you know, I had a lot of injuries. I had 3 surgeries on my foot. I got 2 screws. I was playing with a few injuries, and then my form wasn't good and wasn't really getting played much at the West Tigers, and I was like getting older, and my perspective on life just changed a little bit. It's like, it's cool to strive for things, but it's not the be all and end all of there's a big cost. So probably to go back to that balance thing, I just brought a bit of perspective of like sometimes you know, one extra mark and a little piece of a name on my degree would have been cool for the, you know, kind of like the street cred of a hole in one, like, but it doesn't mean anything about your, you know, who you are as a person and how good at golf you are. It just means that you got it one time, and that's how I've explained it away to myself anyway.
Yeah, I think it's something to really be proud of. Like, this is an incredibly difficult school. You've graduated with, in my opinion, top marks. Yeah, I want to start building into the rugby league stuff. You made a comment there because you were big, you got picked on. Like, you were a big unit.
I was fat. I was a fat kid.
Yeah. Oh, is that, you were sizable, like just fat, like strong as well and big?
I was just fat, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but I was, I could show you photos. Picture will paint 1,000 words, but I was also a combination which is probably rare, which is like fat but aggressive.
And your senior rugby league career started early doors, right? Teenage years, 14, 15?
Yeah, 14. I saw those earlier stories. I've always been a kid that's probably been thinking-wise like a little bit older, and then also too, like as I said, I went to high school a year early, so I was 12, and I was good at rugby. So all of a sudden, bang, my teammates are 15. You know, like 3 years age gap, and then.
And when you're running in a team, you're running in a team.
Yeah.
First 15 go to a party.
Exactly.
You're going to that party as well, right?
Yeah,
and they're looking after you because you're the youngest in the group, I imagine.
Yeah.
And hey, Russell, come and drink this, and we'll have this, and try this, and do that, right?
Yeah. And then also too, like, in my whole life, because I was big, I always played up. So I'd play with my brother's teams, which is 2 years older. So by the time I was 14, like, I'd been playing against, you know, like when I was at 10, I was playing against 13-year-olds. Yeah. So when I was 13, now I'm playing against 17-year-olds. When I was 14, 15, that's when I started playing league. I was like, well.
And are you holding your own?
Yeah.
That blows my mind to think of like 14-year-old, 15, 16-year-old playing senior men's.
Yeah.
Like we come from a football background. Like it's not that unusual for a 15, 16-year-old to play senior football, but you know that they're youngsters in a collision sport like rugby league. Man, that must be. Yeah. You must learn some quick lessons in that environment as well.
Well, I always wanted to be an All Black. Like Foxton's, Horowhenua is massive. Like it's a rugby area, and growing up, I actually went to the Murray Mixed Academy for rugby. I got a scholarship to go there.
Oh, Irans, is it the one?
Yeah, it was back in the day. Yeah. Because in Palmy, you know, that big fern building, and they hosted us there. So I made the Horowhenua secondary schools team when I was 14. So I was pretty good at rugby, but what ended up happening, the story behind how I got into league is, I can't remember exactly how many, but there was probably 6 of us from the first 15 team at 102 College that went and just started training with the local league team called the Levin Lions, and they Dave Lomax, who was a former NRL player, and Lomax brother, so massive league family, he was the coach of that team, and all these boys from this high school. A couple of the older fellas played for the Levin Lions, and they were like, "Oh, come over and have a bit of training. We need some numbers." I was like, "Sweet." Went over, done some training. I was like, "Fuck, this is way different than being a prop in rugby. You know, I get to run heaps and tackle, and you know, I had a pretty bad back and couldn't squat, so I was like, oh, yep, for the scrummaging and that." And I was like, we played a trial game, and I just loved it. Principal and coach caught wind of it, and we had a big emergency meeting. Like, imagine the first 15 of a small country town was like big. Like, we used to have like quite a lot of people at our games, first 15 games at the college, and it was a big event for the town. And out of all of the boys, probably shows to my character of being a bit defiant. They said you can't play rugby league and be in the first 15, and choose one. All the other boys went back to the first 15, and I just said, "Oh, sweet, I'm going to go do league." So my first full year of rugby league, I played for the Levin Lions, which was a team full of, I was the youngest, obviously, 15. We had a couple of old Super League players, Sonny Whakaro, local legend, he played in the Super League. Dave played for us, his brother Tony. So I was at 15, I was training and playing with dudes that had played in the Super League, played NRL. So it was, it was in the deep end shit, but it's confidence building, and that's how I got my start through rugby league. Basically, I don't think of David was the coach. Dave and his wife Tui, they kind of, supported me in my start of my rugby league, opened a few doors. I wasn't on the radar in the national scene because
no one comes down to Levin
to
watch.
Yeah. I wasn't I wasn't playing in any of these age grade comps, and Dave had to ask a favour, I think, for one of his old friends at NRL. Said, just ask a favour, goes, "Oh, please just give him a trial. Like, he's playing with us. I think he's worth a trial." So we came up here. I had a ride up here with someone hitched, or so one of the whānau took me up or something like this, and we had a few days at King's College. It was all the best players, New Zealand under 16s and under 18s players, and we'd done the old school trial, and made the team and ended up captaining that team, and we toured to Aussie, played 3 games over there, undefeated. So it was that, and then the next year started playing barter card, and again 16, and quite a lot of the old, my era kind of Warriors players, we all cut our teeth in the barter card. Quite similar systems. It's like, I think hopefully they can implement more of a national competition for rugby league players, because Ben Matalino is from Wellington. We came through the barter card system. Me at the Central Falcons, the Rapira boys, Waikato Bay Stallions, and Simon Mannering too from down south. It's he played in the Wellington Orcas. So quite a lot of the old, my era, the boys at the Warriors, we weren't from Auckland. And we all cut our teeth in the barter card.
Being a kid that played in a men's rugby league team, did you have a confidence or a swag about you when you went back into your own age group?
I never played in my. There wasn't a
competition. In those NZ kind of squads.
Yeah.
When you go into those and you're like, well, fuck, I play against 35-year-old builders every week. Like, what's this guy going to do?
Builders, 35-year-old dudes with tattoos on their face.
Like legit. Like, that's the reality of it, right? Like, but did you? So when you went into those environments, you're like, fuck, well, I can handle myself here.
Oh yeah. Well, we used to have scraps, like on-field scraps, when I played for Levin, and heaps of the boys were involved in gangs and all that, and the other teams that we played in. But it's a game, and we always had hard games and a few little scuffles here and there on field, but it's always sweet afterwards, because it was back in the old day where you get in the club rooms, and a couple of the aunties and a few of the coaches' wives would cook food for us, and we'd always have a few drinks, and because I think there was only 6 or 7 teams, so in that area, rugby leagues, you got to be keen as to play rugby league, because there's no money in it. Where if you're good at rugby in like 1 or 2, you might get, you know, $100 or a couple of $100 a game to play for a good club like Cobb or Te Kawa or whatever. So if you want to play league, it's like, oh.
And was that the mentality, like confrontation on the field, whistle goes, shake hands, meet in the club rooms, everything's kind of forgotten?
Yeah.
That kind of old school mentality of what happens there, and then we go away and go our separate ways.
Yeah. We had a good team. We ended up winning the comp that year, the Western Alliance, I think it was called. So that was great fun. Like, imagine a 15-year-old kid, you're at high school, and I was like, some of my teammates were like 40, and you know, I was just younger than some of their kids and shit. But we used to get on a bus and would head up to Taranaki because there was a couple of teams in the Taranaki area, Maris Bell Block and Hawara. Yeah, so, you know, rough areas. And I remember one time, I think it was Maris Bell Block, half of our team got on the piss on Friday night, the night before, and from Levin to Hawara was about 3.5 hours, and we always used to pick some of the boys up, like they'd get rides to the state highway, you know, maybe from their girlfriend or whatever, and they'd just stand on the road. Anyway, we ended up going up there with like 12 players, and the bus driver ended up having to jump on. Yeah, bro. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Like, it was a good way to, I guess, get a bit of life experience in. But what you said, like, you know, I was exposed to, well, I was one of the better players in the team, even though I was 15. So we were sponsored by a pub, and after the games, well, naturally you're going to go back to the sponsor's location, have a few drinks. So
yeah, and you're not going to be left out in the car park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without getting the public into any trouble. Yeah, you know.
The Russell Packer story, as far as I can see, is kind of divided by this line. And there's the person who we're talking about now and the stuff you're going through. And there's the person on the other side who's in front of us now, and you've got this perspective. And there was a big incident which has created that perspective shift. Are you able to go into as much or as little detail as you want about the lead up to what happened in Sydney, and then we can start talking about what happened afterwards?
Yeah, for sure. Like, that whole situation, I put myself in a bad position, but like, just anyone that was a part of the case, like, they portrayed it like I king hit someone from behind and all that, which wasn't the case. Like, I got hit and I went too far, which is what happened. And in my life, whenever I've done anything, I've always been like, yep, I did it. And, you know, I've tried to have some justification, because that's how I grew up. Like, oh, well, you know, they done this and that. And it was the wrong thing. And I plead guilty for a reason, because, you know, I didn't. This is this powerful thing about narratives and sharing stories. It's like, we hear stories and we just tend to believe them. And when they come from people or places that have credibility, then again, we're more likely to believe them, and that's myself included. So that was something coming out of there that was quite a lot of people now still come up and ask me, oh, you just, you know, hit someone for no reason, why'd you do that? I was like, well, you know, that's what it said, but that's not what actually happened. And anyway, I plead guilty. I fucked up. I did the wrong thing. I put myself in a bad position. More importantly, I put my family in a bad position. I put my kids without a father for a year. Going to jail, in hindsight, was probably one of the better things that happened to me at that period. As I said, in 2013, bro, I should have been in rehab. Like, I was just, I was struggling with a lot of shit, demons, which now I'm 10 years older nearly, like 2013, when 2023. I was just a kid in my brain. And, you know, didn't expect to go to jail. Thought I was gonna, you know, get a lesser punishment, but I ended up getting sentenced to 2 years in jail. From that, appealed it and got down to 1 year. So I spent 1 year in jail.
If I just jump in there, I read something about your lawyer even surprised, like when the 2 year sentence was handed down. he didn't think that was on the cards. Like that must have been an incredible shock.
Yeah. I got rid of that lawyer real quick.
Yeah.
But it was just like the other thing too, man. When you actually start learning about the law, and I started doing a law degree at Auckland Law School too. So I've done a little bit of stuff around statutory interpretation and understanding legislation and you know what the intention of law is. So I've had a different perspective as well. But yeah, look, I was an example at a time, and I just accept it, bro. It's it happened at that time for a reason, and when I look back on it now, you just have to accept the situation and use it to grow and move forward. And probably like you know, we talked about ice baths and all that. If you just resist all the time, you don't really last long, and it takes a lot of energy. And once you learn how to let go and accept the environment and accept things, and you know, do the best with the things that are in your control, then it's a lot better for you mentally. So yeah, that's what I came to. But it was tough, bro. It was like fucking, I just got through jail. Like quite a few of my family members have been in and out of jail and whatnot, so cousins and stuff, and it's, I'm not really, I wouldn't say, you know, I'm not scared of things in that way, like, oh, I wonder what it'll be, because no point wasting my energy thinking, oh, it's going to be like this or it's going to be like the movie. So I just put one foot in front of the other, and like for the most part, bro, jail was just really boring. It just gave you a lot of time to reflect. Like, you're stuck. The first month that I did in jail, bro, I was in a like socially isolated cell. Because I was a famous.
I was going to say, was that because of your profile?
Yeah. So the jail people, they were like, oh, this guy's going to get stabbed and extorted and all these things, and so they forced me to stay in this cell for a month. Yeah, for over a month. So it was 23 hours a day lockdown, and yeah, good. Like, it was time for a lot of reflection and why the fuck am I in this position? My behaviour, my actions put me here, and
pardon my ignorance,
yeah.
but how quick is it between a guilty verdict and actually going to jail? Is it like complete ignorance? Is it like same day? Like, are you taken away and you go straight in, or is there a
yeah? Well, that
detention period, or I don't know?
Well, that day was, so I pled guilty, and normally people come back for their sentencing, so the pleas entered or whatever, and then the court, you know, judge goes to lunch and then come back in the afternoon for sentencing. So yeah, it was just sitting around with my lawyer, and none of them mentioned jail. Oh yeah, sweet as, it's all looking good for whatever they thought the recommended sentence was, and then heard 2 years jail. And I'm pretty, I guess, like perceptual, but there was like 2 massive like prison guards behind me, and then the judge yelled at me to stand up in his court, and then I looked around and I was like, oh yeah,
Fuck.
like I could anticipate what was coming, and obviously they probably put some security there, not knowing if I'd freak out or whatever. And yeah, that was just a situation. But as I said, I pled guilty. I fucked up. I did the wrong thing, in a bad position, albeit it's never been portrayed as how it actually occurred. But that's, I guess it's not important 10 years in the future. But you know, you talk about things, it's like you struggle generally with things that you think aren't fair. Like, I don't mind, I did these things and I know they were wrong, and that's why I pled guilty. But what you're saying about me there isn't true, which is what I struggle with mentally, because it's just, you know, it was bad for my family, and on top of me being in jail, because it was like, why are you know, my missus had to answer, why are you in a relationship with someone that just runs up behind anyone and just hits them for no particular reason? So, you know, that was fucking just that, having those conversations with people, that was hard. And even having conversations with my kids about going to jail, bro, it's been, my daughter's 13, nearly.
Thank you so much for sharing this stuff with us. I'm interested in the mentality shift when you're in there. So you get sentenced that initially you think you're doing 2 years and it gets reduced to 1, but in those initial stages it's 2. Do you remember how you changed mentally? Like in the initial stages, was it days, weeks, it was anger and frustration, and then it became sort of acceptance, and then it became I'm going to change? Like,
yeah. You've done the grief loss steps. Yeah. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance.
Was it textbook for you? Like that?
Bro, yeah. Well, straight to anger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't in denial. I was in jail. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't looking around thinking, is this real? I was like, fuck, this is not what I was told. And obviously that came with a lot of anger based on a mismatch of expectations. So, but yeah, bro, it was getting to the acceptance was a long time. And like jail is it's society's punishment when you get convicted or you plead guilty of a crime, and that's in general meant to balance the crime out or whatever. It's the sentence recommended to square the ledger also, in a simple way, in my view anyway. But so I was doing that, and then on top of that, I knew that I wasn't probably going to be allowed to play NRL again, or in the short term, which again was like, in my mind, was like, oh, well, that's unfair. Like, I'm doing my time now. That's as a young kid looking at it. But, I really appreciate the support that the NRL gave me after I got out. The St. George Dragons, helped save my career and my life in a way, by giving me a place to call home, giving me a place to re-establish myself and reconnect with my family. So I'll be forever indebted to that club. St. George Illawarra Dragons, the CEO, Peter Dowse at the time, the head coach at the time, who came and see me in jail, signed me, Paul McGregor, Mary McGregor. I'll never not have gratitude in my life for him, how he helped and treated my family as well. Him and his wife, Nick, kind of took us in as like, looked after our kids, and it was just to have that kind of support when you're really at the bottom of, as low as you can kind of go.
Yeah.
When you go to jail, it's like, and then the story around it is unknown, so everybody has their own thing, and it's like, okay, cool, we're out now, what do I do? I'm going to try and play league again, got 2 kids, and yeah, bro, it was hard, but it was worth it. And as I mentioned about the NRL, they encouraged me, and even the RLPA and the Dragons, they had this big team, and obviously they were incentivized because they wanted me to play for their team, but then also helping me go to those cognitive brain therapy sessions and giving me work opportunities when I first got out, and giving me some hope and some optimism for my future, which is always needed when you're in a low patch. It's I read a book, as recommended to me when I just got out of jail, A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Yeah, I don't know if you've read this book.
My brother recommended me to read it when I was in my early 20s, and I never got round to it.
Yeah, well, your brother makes a good recommendation in my opinion, but I read that book, and Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist before the war, and then he survived those camps, and he wrote a book about it and how he did that. And I recommend that book for anyone that's going through stuff. We're all, when we go through hard stuff, we don't know if we can get through it until we get through it. And that book was a real fascinating read for me, because connected a few of the dots that were unconnected at that time about having goals and having things to look forward to in the future.
Was there a person or or a moment that galvanized your spirit when you were in jail to think, okay, fuck, I've got to pull myself out of the depths where I am right now?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, there was. And I've shared this story a few times. My daughter, Madison, who's 13 soon, she was 3 at the time, and her birthday's in August, so it was like 8 months into the sentence. I was at a farm jail in the back of New South Wales country, a place called Oberon. It was real cold. It was like 1,200 metres above. It snowed there and shit. And so they were like, oh, if you want to escape, like, you'll freeze to death before you reach the next town or whatever. So it was quite lax security-wise. It was very minimum security. Lara, Madison, Marley came, and, she was, talk about, someone that's just backs you to the death, man. I'm very lucky, and a lot of people remind me of that, and, I definitely agree with them. But she brought the kids out, and Madison was having a birthday party, and it was like after the visit, Madison was 3. We went our separate ways at the visit, and then she ran back to me when I was going through the prison gate, and then it was like, oh, Dad, birthday on Wednesday, can you come? And I was just like, fuck, yeah. That was the real moment where I was like, fuck this shit, and just like, I've been a selfish cunt. I've put myself and my family in this position, and now I've got to answer a 3-year-old kid, my daughter, who talk about, I'm meant to be the person trying to give her the best, upbringing, and trying to give her a stable environment to grow and learn and become the best version of herself. And I actually felt like a piece of shit after that. Like, I was, as you do, you go internal, and then you're like, fuck. Yeah, just had a lot of thoughts, and just, I was like, I got to just sort shit out and try and get to the bottom of it. And I'm still trying. Like, every day's a different battle for people that deal with anger issues or substance abuse issues or even addiction, or talk about Rich Roll, like, wide for extremes. Like, why is he doing ultra marathons? Why doesn't he just do a marathon? You kind of got that pushy nature in you and stuff. So I just really, got into a lot of reading and read a lot of books like that one, like Man's Search for Meaning. And not that a book can change your life, and there's how many people in the world are religious, and the Bible has changed their life. I'm not religious myself, but the book, any book like in the Bible's one easy example, but it does have the messages and the stories in it has the power to help someone change their life. And not just one book, but whole list of things.
After this moment, and the toughest moment, and then you've made that very clear decision, you're going to change and you're going to be better. And then as release date gets near, I'm assuming you're sort of counting down the days. Are you a totally changed man on that release day? And do you remember the emotion of walking out of jail must have been overwhelming?
Yeah, bro, it was very overwhelming. Yeah, because you think like you're in a heightened state all the time. Some of the people that they were just there, like, they'd killed 4 people, or done some pretty like heavy crimes, and were intermingling. So it's like, naturally, you're just a bit more heightened. Someone at the supermarket walks behind you, so that's kind of the transition out of it. But I don't, changing isn't like turning on a light. It doesn't just, it takes time. And anyone that you say you're a changed man, or you're always changing, or I went to a couple of AA meetings while I was in jail, and that's why they always say that they're always recovering, because you don't get to an end point and then it's finished, because new shit pops up and hard things happen in life. And what do you fall back to? You fall back to the things that make you feel comfortable, which is drinking, drugs and gambling, whatever your vice is, and it's definitely not a destination that I've arrived at. It's something that I'll try to be mindful of, and I still have my times where it's like, things happen in life, and you have struggles, mental struggles, and you just got to have, I guess, an awareness that that's all good to be saying that, like, oh yeah, I'm not feeling the best, or don't have the same energy that I have today that I did 2 months ago, which is like having these conversations is good. Like I've met some awesome people down in Papamoa, people that do heaps of different things. Former cops. We have a weekly coffee group down at Gather in Papamoa Beach if anyone wants good coffee. But every Thursday morning, and I got invited into it when I first went down. 6:30 a.m. open door kind of policy, and it's awesome, man. We have some of the boys have done very well in business and doing very well, and everyone's from different walks of life, some former cops, and wide variety of stories and people, and we talk about some things, like post-traumatic stress disorder, which is affecting a lot of cops and firefighters and issues like that, which I guess it's cool that that's becoming more normalised now, that people can share those stories and not be trapped by their emotions and be able to be vulnerable to other people and open up a little
totally
bit.
And this is so cool. Like, thank you so much for being so vulnerable. Like, this is tough stuff to go through, but we've arrived at what I think is the beginning of the really cool part, and this is what I was looking forward to getting to, and I'm not sure how to tell the story. You would know better than me, but linking up from getting out of jail, getting yourself back on the footy field, playing professional rugby again, becoming part of sort of captain leadership groups, up to your business success now and your ability to share this message and inspire others. So I don't know what part of the piece you want to talk about, but is it like, how hard was it to get yourself fit again, to get back in the NRL? Like, was that always the goal? Was it always to get back on the field?
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Like I used to smoke cigarettes, like even when I played at the Warriors or whatever. So when I went to jail, I smoked like quite a lot and played heaps of cards, and I was like, mentally I didn't have any motivation to train. Like, I trained and I put on heaps of weight in there and I didn't do much, and then when there was light at the end of the tunnel, with about 3 months to go, one of my good mates from jail, Dunks, we were cellmates for like 4 or 5 months, and he was real fit and surfer dude, and so with about 3 months I just kind of snapped, and I was like, oh fuck, you're gonna get out soon. I better start trying to get into some shape and getting back into that zone, and and then coming out, took me about 3 months. Took me about 3 months to actually be allowed to play again, but probably mentally, like in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I reckon I could pump out 15 minutes a grade if I needed to. Like, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what got me through jail, visualising playing again, and
Because how soon into that jail journey did the club interest start to come through? Because my understanding is it wasn't just the Dragons. There were a few clubs that were keen on being part of your reintegration into society.
Yeah. There was a few, obviously, like I was in jail, but there was a couple. In perspective, what you said earlier, like, I was 24 years old, I played for New Zealand, and I played over 100 NRL games, and I was 24.
Yeah.
So, as a front rower,
You're hot property, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say hot property coming fresh out of jail, but it was like
Your property.
Your property.
You're a fixer-upper.
You're probably you got a heaps of potential, but you're a doer-upper. You need a little reno, you need a bit of work, but that's just the situation. And to be frank, if I went to jail when I was 33, I definitely wouldn't have had any offers, because it would have been. It's about that. Like, I had the potential to come out the other side and be a better person. But not only that, I had the potential to perform on the field and to play and, you know, do what I'd always loved to do and what I was really good at, which was to play rugby league. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm keen to pick up from the Dragons. So you signed the 2-year contract. Like, that must have been a really cool moment in this journey, and the education part of it too. Can you link us up to that part of the journey?
Yeah, so getting back on my feet at the Dragons, I got out of jail in 2015, in January the 5th, 2015. I think I've played my first game of reserve grade in May, and then I played reserve grade all the way. So I had to meet all these milestones to, you know, I had to work to get back into the NRL.
Because it wasn't just the case of, oh, he's back now, here's a contract, go and play, right? You had to jump through a few hoops, and there's still a few areas, I imagine.
Yeah, and totally, because it goes back to the thing of building up trust again. Like, oh, well, you fucked up before, so we don't trust that you won't do it again, which is, you know, it's normal. Everybody does that. So that was all good. I built that up, and Mary brought me into his team, and I just trained. I ended up being allowed to train with the first grade squad, and I was playing reserve grade, and I was having fun, and it was a really good, actually, eye-opening experience for me, because I debuted when I was 18, so I didn't really have that, I'm going to do anything that I can to, you know, I'm 24, but I'm going to drive 2 hours a day to training. And then when I played reserve grade that year, I was like, man, these dudes, like, the chances of them playing is what drives them to keep coming. Like, and it made me really think about education, career, business. Most of them were teachers. They were already tradies. And, you know, everybody loves to talk about former athletes, like, oh, you know, look at them, they wasted all their money, or they didn't do anything meaningful. It's like, when you're 18 and you're playing, it's like you're single track on that. But when you're 18 and you're not even making reserve grade team, you're like, oh, maybe I'll go and do that arts degree and become a teacher and chip away and then train and build up. And so you've had different experiences in life, and I think, yeah, that was really formative. Then at the end of 2015, the NRL allowed me to come back. The main reason why I wasn't given, I guess, allowed to be an official NRL player is because I had a deportation case hanging over my head. So when I got out of jail in 2015, a lot of the law for deportation changed in Australia. So, and you'll probably read it in the paper, but quite a lot of people that have been to jail for over 1 year in Australia have since been deported back to New Zealand, that were born in New Zealand, New Zealand citizens. And so I was on that radar for immigration in Australia. So that behind the scenes, you know, that was probably more scarier than jail, to be honest, because it was like, it was a very, very real chance that I was going to get deported. I had immigration lawyers, and my lawyers were kind of prepping me to, to go to the detention centres and stuff like that. And yeah, so, you know, Lara's been through a lot, man, and yeah, put my family through a lot of that, a lot of uncertainty, and so to put that into perspective, when I was allowed to play again and stay, it meant that I was staying in Australia, which was, it had more weight, you know, it was a lot more significant than I'm allowed to play a game. It's like, we were having conversations in the background like, oh, what are we going to do if I get deported? Like, where will we live? We'll go to Hamilton, and I could have been an ambassador down there. But, you know,
you could still. It's not too late. Yeah, you've got strong grounds. You've got strong grounds to become one.
Yeah, and I don't have any pedigree playing cricket. I just only played cricket once. I never got to bat, and I never got to bowl. And I was like, oh, this sucks. But obviously I was shit. That's why I wasn't batting or bowling. But yeah, bro. It's so we went through, you know, that a lot of you know, psychological times where you just didn't know the future and how certain it was in terms of what you could do, play, the deportation stuff. So when I played my first game, it was awesome, man. Melbourne Storm down there, and it was just like I trained really hard. I was in good shape, and I just loved being back in there, being in that competitive environment. I think that's what I loved. I've always loved competing. I'm real competitive naturally. It's hard to get to elite levels of sport if you just don't have a high level of competitiveness in you, whether that's loud or internal or whatever. But probably the thing that I miss the most about league is the competition, challenging myself against the best players. And I accepted that I was too old, like my body was broken down, and I was like a pack of meat that had expired but hadn't been frozen, bro. So it was time to go, and that's where it is. But mentally, that's what I miss. It's like the ability to get fit, push yourself, be pushed by all those around you who are in your team. So you're competing with your own teammates to get better, and then you get the privilege to go and test yourself against another team, and then work together. And that's probably the thing I miss about it. But 3 awesome years in St. George, and we lived in Wollongong. Beautiful people, awesome club. Like a lot of teammates that I have. This is another thing too. Just in general, I don't know if you've ever come across the rule of 150.
No.
I watched the TED Talk, someone sent it to me, but it's an anthropologist called Robin Dunbar, he's a British anthropologist, so he studies animal behaviour and all this thing, but he came up with this model that people can't really exceed human connection beyond 150 people.
Oh, right.
Deadly. Yeah, it's called Dunbar's theory, or all of 150, but I came across that, and it goes in this like an onion, like 5 people really close, and then 15, and you know way more about your 5 closest friends than you do about number 20, don't you? Just goes without saying, because you spend more time with them. And that's kind of what a rugby league team's like. You connect with some people more than others. Like, you're professional by then. You're late. So it wasn't like that brotherhood that I had at the Warriors. I had a different outlook on life. Like, I still loved it. It was like a team, but then it was also more like business-like. Where at the Warriors, it was like I was just a kid, bro. That was like my family.
Yeah. And by the time you got to the Tigers, you did 4 years at the Tigers, 18-21. You had all of this learned experience, right? Like, by that stage, you're a veteran and you're a part of the leadership group, and you've got the jail and the youngsters, and you can help the youngsters coming through. Was that a cool period? Yeah, bro. Yeah. But so Ivan signed a few of us to go to the West Tigers in end of 2017, and me and Benny Mutz ended up connecting back up again, and that was cool. So I signed there for 4 years, Ben signed there for 3 years, and it's a good reflection if you go somewhere with expectations. Like you talked earlier, Seamus, like I played 100 games when I was 22, so I just had the expectation, well, I've got here, so I'm definitely going to get 200. I want to go for 250 or 300. And we all went to the Tigers with good expectations, and that was a real good team in 2018. The year before, I think they won 4 or 5 games, lost a couple of their marquee players, came out and recruited, and we won 12 games that year. So they went from 5 games, it was 7-win turnaround in 1 year, and obviously that in that year, Ivan, there was the going back to Penrith kind of situation, which happened towards the end of the year, and so I was a captain there, and then they got Madge came in, and we obviously had different philosophical views. Like I learned a lot off Madge though.
guess when you get two stubborn people in a room, they're not always going to agree. And he was the boss and I wasn't, and and that's what happens in a team. Like as a fan or whatever, you see it, you go, oh, like, that guy used to be good and now he's not even playing. Or like my last game of NRL, I played 10 minutes off the bench, but I didn't go on until the 55th minute. So like.
Yeah.
That was my last game of NRL, so I had really fallen off the like I was always a starter, because to be a starting front row in the NRL, and I think not to just say you need this to do it, but you have to have a different mentality. Like the physical attributes go without saying, but to be a starter, it's a different mindset, because more pressure at the start of the game, like first kickoff carry.
Yeah, the hit up.
First
First tackle.
Yeah. First tackle. Like you want to be out there. You want to be a part of it at the start. It's like rocking up to a party 3 hours in. Straight up. Like sometimes when you sit on the bench, like that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, you've missed all the fun. Like you missed the crack up stories, and you weren't a part of it. Like that. That's psychologically for me anyway. That's what it's like when you. Especially for me, my personality was like, I always said to any coach, like, I want to start, whether or not I'm good enough to do it or not, whether I'm better than the other two props that you pick, then that's up to you. But I'm like, I have the intention, like, I want to be on the field first. Like, that's just in my nature.
Take me into that. You're in the in-goal area and you're receiving. We'll talk about pissing your pants a little bit later on. But
I normally did that before the first kickoff.
Actually, while we're there now, talk us through that. Just talk us through that, and then I've got my follow-up question as well.
Yeah, look, man, this it's crack up to say now, but like, I always played with a lot of injuries, so I played with like medicine, like anti-inflammatories and all this, and anyone that played with me, like I'm man of routine, but I would always spew up before every game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I always used to brush my teeth and brush my mouth guard just before I went on. So like any of my old teammates are like, oh, this weird dude's like brushing his teeth just before you run out. But I always was, whether it was a combination of the medicine and then obviously my nerves, but I would always have a weak bladder. So like I'd always, like just before the would run out, I'd be like, oh, fuck, I need to go for a piss. And in that game, bro, like the ball was going to get kicked off, and like I had done the old drop down on the knee like previously, and then we at the side, but it was like the ball was on the tee 40 seconds before the kickoff. So if I like dropped on the knee right there, everyone would be like, oh, this dude's weeing. So I was just like, fuck, heaps of shit was going through my head, like, oh, should I quickly run off? But then I missed the start of the game. And yeah, I just couldn't hold it in. And
did you take it out, or did you just go through the undershorts?
Yeah, just weed through my pants, and
because it's a solid stream.
It's like hiding in broad daylight. It's like, have I got away with this?
Yeah,
has anyone seen this?
Like it's probably it's paradoxical. Like, oh, he's smart enough to get into that university and get an MBA, but he's stupid enough to piss his pants on the field. So it's all part of the story, bro, all part of the character. But yeah, I think at the time too, bro, like I only played 5 games that year and I was injured, like as I said before, in 2013. And
was that 13 that season? Was that that season with the when you pissed yourself on the on Sunkel?
Yeah, okay. So I wasn't in the best mental space, what I said earlier.
Contextualizing it as well.
Yeah, like in the context of it, not to say, that's the reason, like I just needed to do a piss, and I did. And but to contextualize that, I hadn't played because I got a surgery on my shoulder in like February. So, and I was unfit, bro, and I was definitely out of shape. I wasn't training hard. I was isolated. I wasn't in the best mental frame. And Matt Elliott was the coach, and again, I guess he wasn't like an Ivan to me. Like he didn't bring the best out of me, or I probably wasn't the best version of myself under him as well. And Jake got injured, and I was like nearly 130 kilos, bro. I was like massive. Like in the photo, you're like, oh, well, heaps of people see me. They're like, whoa, you're not as fat as what you were when you were playing. I was like, yeah. And so my discipline wasn't there, and probably goes back around on the story, but what I said earlier about always wanting to start. We had like 3 injuries, and there was no other experienced front rowers. I was not fit, but Matt Elliott came to me. He was like, oh, we're going to need you to play. And I was like, yeah, I'll play. I said, but if I play, I start. So that was like kind of my attitude, yeah. I was like, yeah, I believe I can do it. Yeah, I haven't played much. I'm definitely unfit, but mentally I reckon I can get through 20 minutes. But I want to start because, yeah.
And my follow-up was the mentality of a front rower before that first kickoff. Are you like it was in Bull Rush back at school, like picking the biggest guy that you can find and go, fuck it, I'm aiming up and I'm coming straight at you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially when you're 130 kegs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just pick anyone. Like, I remember that year, because obviously growing up as a kid, like Sonny Bill was the man, and he was at the Roosters that year. That's the year the Roosters won it. And I remember we played a game, and I was that big, and I was like, fuck, I'm just going to run it in and see, like, just because, like, I just want to feel what the collision will be like. And, yeah, bro, like, winded, down. Really? I just played the ball, but normally when you get hit real hard in the midsection, you just, like, you're winded, but you got to try and get up, you know, pretend like it didn't hurt. So I played the ball and then just walked off like, yeah, but that's I guess that's the kind of mentality, and that's what people are drawn to, aren't they? When they watch Bunty run off the back fence or players go hard, it's like there's a risk that they're going to get smashed.
Well, people love it. They love the was it Jerome, when Jerome hit Webke? Jerome Ropati hit Webke, and Webke gets knocked out in a war. Like those kind of highlight collisions are what people just absolutely love, and I'm fascinated by that mentality of like, this could fucking hurt a lot, but fucking I'm just gonna go for it.
Like, look at Dan Hooker. Like, he's my favorite UFC fighter. I've watched all of his fights, and he's just like a mongrel. He just goes hundies. Like, he's fought dudes that are like 30 kilos heavier than him. You know, look when he came. Bro, the dude gets kicked in the head, sounds like he's been hit with a bat, broken face bone, and just...
Broken arm as well?
Broken wrist, broken hand, and just doesn't... Mental. Like, how else can you explain that? He didn't want to lose that fight. He's just like, I'm going to go all the way, give my best shot, and, you know...
Yeah.
That's probably the mentality that you need to have, and guess whether some people say, oh, he's crazy, or... You know, why are you going to run directly straight at someone like Sonny when there's a hole there? Like, is that your ego or pride and the competitiveness too? You want to see, you're curious.
You said before you miss like the mental side of the competitiveness of playing. I think that's perhaps a good seg into business, because you've got new challenges now, and there's new things which are challenging your mind in very different ways. And I was sort of reading up, you've got a development of a 19-lot subdivision. Where is that?
Foxton Beach.
Yeah. And you've got the front row fencing with Ben Medellino.
Yeah.
So now you're a businessman. So now you've got these projects and you're supervising, and there's a whole new skill set which you have taught yourself. We talked about the study you've done, but how are you finding that side of life?
I've jumped out of the fencing business, but Ben's still running.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Just took some hits on the development. So, you know, these things happen in business. It's like a 19-lot subdivision. It's probably like running off the back fence. Like, I wouldn't advise to do it, but, you know, you just do it anyway. And, yeah, it's been fun. It's been challenging doing that as a joint venture with, you know, awesome guy. Regan's his name. He owned the adjourning block where I purchased, and we ended up meeting for coffee in 2019 and connected again, probably just meeting the right person and our energies matched. And he initially didn't want to do the subdivision together because he didn't have he didn't want to do it at that time, and then he ended up jumping on. So 4 years in, man, we've learned a lot. Like, we both never developed anything, and most people will start with like get a little section and chop it into two. But
Yeah.
that's when all
Most people would let go of the tow rope at
Yeah.
Snow Planet as well.
So if anyone in Wellington or Palmerston wants to buy some sections, hit us up. But that's from the business too thing, and I'll touch on this like with the content or reading books or getting knowledge or information from anywhere. It doesn't mean fuck all unless you use it, unless you experiment, unless you take some risk, unless you say
Fail and learn.
Fail quickly, learn some shit the hard way, which business school is kind of like how to run a company, less so how to start a company. Like starting a podcast, what episode are you guys into?
136.
Yeah, so now you got 136 runs on the board, trying to get your first single, in the cricket analogy, that's the toughest thing. Getting off the ground, getting one run on the board, getting two, hitting a 4 here. One of the episodes might be a 6. Oh man, I listen to Izzy's one and then I'm like, fuck, that's good content, And then so I guess any endeavor, any business, any entrepreneurial endeavor, any idea, project, it's starts with an idea, and then you normally have to just scrap and figure out how to. Had you guys hit podcasts before?
I didn't know what one was really before Stephen kind of sent me one and said, listen to this part, this is what we're going to do. And then we went from there.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious about your thirst for knowledge. Was it honed during your time inside, or did you always have a real interest in wanting to learn and wanting to know more about the world?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
So it's always been with you.
Yeah, from a young kid, guess I would be that annoying kid. Oh, why do you do that? Oh, what's that for? Why do you put that there? Why do you put that table there instead of there? I guess why is always something that's in my head, because I'm just
it's such
curious. I'm just genuinely curious about heaps of different shit and why we do things, and why did they build the bridge there instead of over there, or why is the car park designed like that instead of designed differently? I don't know.
It's amazing how many successful people we've had on the podcast, and the common denominator is their thirst to keep improving and learning and growing, and it's so impressive. There are a few things. I don't want to keep you too long because Lara's probably waiting, but
she's waited up longer.
There are a few things I do want to touch on, and important things in the dad life. We've sort of touched on some of the harder moments of parenthood. You've got a son who's autistic, which produces its own challenges.
Yeah.
But what has that taught you about yourself?
Oh, man, just to be, I guess, more empathetic and more understanding, and not so quick to judgment of other people's behaviour, the old classic one, and for kids that are on the spectrum, or people that are on the spectrum, is oh, that kid's naughty, tell them to shut up, they're screaming. And my son had a lot of sensory issues like hearing, and it was challenging when we travelled a lot when he was a boy. He didn't speak, he was non-verbal for a while, so we learnt some small sign languages. That means more in sign language that they taught us, or Finnish, and so I thought, oh, maybe my boy's not going to speak, so we just got on with it. But yeah, that posed a lot of challenges, especially around travel, because that's high stress for anyone. You go to the airport and it's oh shit, there's heaps of people moving, and so my son would kick chairs, and what people would categorise as behaving badly kind of kid, and people would say stuff and control your child, and so what it really taught me was we don't really understand what's going on in the mind of our son, and we're trying to understand, and then more so for other people, we don't know what's going on in their head too, and why they're acting that way, and just have a little bit more compassion and not just rush in and hey, be quiet. It's you don't know if they're having some kind of episode, or probably it's taught me understanding, and not just having one idea having, more possibilities, like, oh, they're just naughty, or that's just one option, but there's quite a lot of other possibilities as well.
We were talking before the app about perspective changes.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine that is just the ultimate perspective changer of everything.
Yeah, man, like, my boy used to, like, smash his head on concrete and do a lot of the stimming behaviour, like look at lights and, move his head and flapping, it's called, and to, like, try and calm himself down and stuff. So, like, imagine you see me walking around, like, shaking my hands and moving my head, and it's all good when, like, you're a baby, but, like, as you get older, he doesn't do it anymore. We went through a lot of therapies and a lot of things and stuff like that, but yeah, just it's new information. So I guess that same curiosity about things, like, cool, he's got this problem, or he's got this challenge in his life, and Lara and I have always just committed ourselves as much as we could to try and understand it and then facilitate it. It's just like, I don't really like boxing people in and saying, oh, he's always going to be like this, or it's like saying a kid's always going to be naughty, or they'll always be, whatever the label is. So yeah, we just definitely shifted both of our perspectives, and even more so all of our family, and then it's kind of like when you buy a car, bro, it's like you start noticing all the other cars that look like your one, and man, with issues on the spectrum, I was an ambassador for an organisation in Australia called Aspects Autism Spectrum Australia, which done research, and I don't know the exact numbers now, but I think when I was doing some stuff with them, 1 in 60 people are affected by autism. So, you meet 60 people, based on probability, one of them's going to be somewhere on the spectrum, and, whether that's high functioning, like Elon Musk has said that he suffers from, or he has Asperger's syndrome, which is autism, on high functioning aspects, and then you have, it's so vast, but it's like any disability, it's it poses different challenges for everyone, even if they have the same, same issues.
Yeah,
because everyone's different.
And the other one I wanted just a few words on is Lara told us it's something you keep quiet about, but the volunteering you do in the community, the Taku Wairua and the Water Boy, since you moved back to New Zealand, why do you feel it's so important to give back? What's going on?
She must have been listening to my conversation earlier. Well, yeah, that's. I mentioned it before. I don't know if you want me to go over it again, but yeah, quite a lot of the things that I've been involved in, obviously, like I don't have a public social media page or all that stuff, and I like to think that I do things because I want to and I care, and I always think this is one thing I learned from jail, and no matter what happens in your life, you always have a choice. Wayne Bennett, the master coach, and he was the coach of the Knights when I went to play at the Knights, and then I got in trouble, ended up in jail. And he told me, no matter your story, like, oh, they hit me or they did this, story of justification. You always have a choice. You can choose to say no, you can choose to say yes, you can choose to walk away, you can choose to do whatever you choose to do. And since he told me that, it's something that I it's kind of like something I remind myself is, like, if I go to a coffee group, I'm going to choose to go there. Yeah, I'm going to choose to listen. Or if I'm not ready to go there, then I'll choose to say no. And I think that's what happens a lot in life, is that we fall victim to a bit of social pressure, like, hey bro, I've invited you to my party, you didn't show up. So people would rather just go up and not really want to be there. Fuck, I've got to go to my mate's party even though I don't really want to. I'll drop in for 5 minutes, say hello, and then backdoor it. Like, to me, it's, even it's social kind of conformity in a way. It's like, if I'm going to go, then I want to be present and in the moment and give my attention to that space. Otherwise, just choose to say no. But if you choose to say yes, then you choose. Yeah, you're not going there because your mate might get upset, or and it's probably like, I didn't really understand it at the time when Wayne said it to me, but very deep and philosophical kind of messaging, which is like summed up in a short little phrase, like you always have a choice. But when you reflect on it, it's true. Like I often reflect on social situations and like, would have been easier just to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you do share your story more, because it's such a powerful narrative of the struggles and the rock bottom and what you've been through to be where you are now. So many good messages to pass on for others that are in those situations. Shay, do you have a couple of bits before we wrap up?
Only your ambassador status, really. And it was because you mentioned it. You messaged me directly about it, which was Lara is from Hamilton.
Yeah. Melville, she's from Melville.
Is she?
Oh, Glenview, Melville.
OG and ambassadors.
And you mentioned a few good nights at the Outback, which everybody has had.
Yeah.
How much time do you spend in Hamilton, and could you lend your considerable status
Well, I'd
cause?
rather be. People said that I'm from Hamilton rather than Huntly, so I'll definitely be.
Beautiful, beautiful things. The other one which Lara sent to us.
Sorry, actually, I'll put a caveat on that before I say yes and agree. What's the requirements?
You just don't shit on Hamilton.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, like, I can't mention that they don't have a beach.
You can do that. You can mention that.
It gets cold, but then also hot.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a choice.
Yeah.
You got a choice.
Exactly.
You got a choice to advocate. You choose to advocate, and then we're all good.
I love Hamilton. Like, obviously, Lara's.
Were you there this morning?
Yeah. My kids are there now. Like, so they were with Grandma now, and Rhonda, Grandma took them out to the base to watch Spider-Man movie while Mum and Dad are up here. So
what a spot!
It's Lara's whānau all live in the Waikato and the King Country, so I spent a lot of time in Tikawiti and Hamilton, and one of the reasons why we went to Papamoa is because Lara's grandparents used to have a holiday home over there, and we spent a bit of time there. Knew a few people, threw a dart at the map, and boom,
landed.
Papamoa. So
I'm so glad you said yes. Thank you for saying yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and making the time. People are going to get a lot from this, like the vulnerability and sharing the message is so important. I honestly think we could go for another 2 hours. Like, there's so much of your story still out there, so maybe there's room for a part 2. But I'll throw to Shay, who does the outros.
Thank you for your vulnerability today. I think it would be easy to shrink away and to not want to talk about the difficult parts, and they're not easy to talk about for sure. And particularly when you've got two people prodding away and trying to pull some of the pieces apart, because it's a traumatic experience that you went through. And what I think is really impressive is the lessons that you learned from it, and then you continue to take forward, particularly your thirst for knowledge. I've learned a whole bunch of stuff, and you've also given me enough threads to take some stuff away and to do some research on my own, which I hope people listening to this episode will also do for themselves, because you are a fountain of knowledge. And you talked about the paradox before of the guy who pisses his pants before a game.
It's only once,
but has got the MBA as well. And I think for the uninitiated, they will hold on to that paradox about he's the buff-fed rugby league player without taking the time to listen to the story and listen to the messages that you drop. And it was encapsulated in a quote, and these are your words from, I think, 2017. I think it's the best way to summarize this episode. And you said, "The story I have so far is of a young kid growing up in a country town who was good at rugby league and made a lot of mistakes along the way. I paid the price to society for them, and I've worked hard to try and improve my life and to be a better person for my kids and my partner. Whether people want to take motivation from it and see it as a feel-good story, I don't know. Hopefully, it can impact someone, that if they've done the wrong thing, they can accept the responsibility for it and know that there will be an opportunity down the path that will pop up and give the chance to do the right things. I guess I'm living proof of that." I couldn't summarize the last 2 hours that we've spent with you better than your own words. So thank you very much for sharing your story. And I'm glad Stephen's got a golf partner over the Kaimais now anytime he wants to
for
go
sure.
and have
If
a
you
hit.
ever want to come
Yeah.
back out to TP, for sure, it's a beautiful club.
good
But
place,
just to conclude, thanks heaps for having me on. I've popped my podcast cherry on here, and it's been an enjoyable experience. And I guess the messages that anyone will take in. I'm a firm believer, like, you have a choice, so you can't force people to change. It is what it is. Like, you choose to do it, and then you get help. So, if my message resonates with anyone, and that's probably what I've kind of mentioned there, is like, I'm not going to force anyone or impose my will and say, hey, do this because that worked for me. That's just not how I think. We all have the decision to do different, and as I said earlier, it's you don't arrive at a destination. It's a daily thing. It's a daily battle. Like, mental health and men's awareness around that is something that's dear to me. Initiatives in the community, like what Thomas and his team are doing with the Water Boy and Taku Wairua, reaching communities, changing people's life, being a champion in their life, like a big event as a 11-year-old that can have a huge impact, creating teachers, people that are going to pass their lessons on from their childhood. And that's kind of why I'm sharing my story here. Just thought it was appropriate time, and if anyone takes anything out of it, then all the better for them. And life's not easy, and you got to try and look for people that can help you through it. So thanks heaps for having me on. Really appreciate it. It's been good.
You're a good man, Russell.
Cheers, Russell.